Hello everyone, how are you all? This is Debbie, this is TNS Radio, this is Food for Thought, this is my 2 hours of deep joy. Oh yes, I don't just demand happiness, I demand euphoria, so let's rock for it, so shall we? Anyway, who's with me today? First of all, I've got Nick riding shotgun, he does the music, and that was New Rose, and yep, we are the New Rose in town, I reckon. So, Lucid, good morning to you. You've been posting stuff about failure leads to success. That's a really interesting point, actually, I thought, on that leadership programme. Because, yeah, you know, I think you're quite right in regards to it. It's nice stuff to wake up to. You know, when people continuously just strive, often it leads to, you know, the whole learning process often does come through failure. And, you know, those people who don't give up, it's really, really fascinating, and just keep plugging at it until they get it right. And you see that often with, like, you know, big people in business. So, and you've only had 4 hours sleep as well, Lucid. No wonder you only look just lucid. You're not looking so great in that picture, I have to say. Right, and let me just scroll down, because one of you, Lucy's saying it starts with health today, so a lot of you feeling guilty. And then let me just scroll down to the person who has eaten Smarties with Cocoa Puffs for dinner. Yeah, no wonder you're all feeling guilty if that's what you're eating. And no wonder you're not even lucid. And apparently David Icke's been on TV just recently, and you're thinking about, well, instead of college kids wearing Che Guevara T-shirts, it's going to be David Icke T-shirts. It's only a matter of time, isn't it, before they do David Icke face as like they would have done Che Guevara's face. So, hello, Rebel Leader. I'm bitching. And who else is with me? Richard Richfields. Hello, how are you today? Let's see. And you're looking forward to the show? Me too. You'll be glad to know. Okay. So apparently you had some ego hitting you in the week, but you've got over it. Yeah, good for you. Well done. You've all got egos. Lucid, good morning. Good morning, Lucid. How are you feeling now after your Smartie and Cocoa Puff breakfast? Anyway. So where am I today? Now I've done the chat box. I have bitching. Hello. So let's see. Where am I up to? And let me just think. If you've got any questions, I've kind of, it's completely me today. So if you've got any questions, get them in the chat box today, and I'll do my best in regards to answering them. Please don't send me any private PMs on, you know, you have got this big health issue and you want something specific answered, you know, because I just can't answer it whilst I'm on air, of course. But if you've got anything that you want to share, you know, what you're currently reading, what's going on, you know, any sort of events that are going on health wise, I would love to hear about them all. You know, what's inspiring you health wise. I know it's not Cocoa Pops, please. I don't want to hear it. Otherwise, I'm just going to go off on one on refined food. You know I am. You know, any recipes that you've got. I know some of you have shared your soup recipes in the past. Come on, get them into the chat box today. Let's just share loads of information, not about Marmite. I noticed the captain's not here, so we can get away with the fact that we might get through a whole show without Marmite being mentioned, apart from by me. Anyway, so let's look at how we can all share some information together today to improve our health overall. All right. But what I thought I'd do first of all, though, is actually update you on Beta Sinclair, who basically came to do the cancer support show earlier this year with me. So I think it was like 3 or 4 shows ago, and we did a whole show with Keith Hearn, who talked about what he was doing, and Beta Sinclair, and she gave out what she was doing specifically in regards to supporting her health picture. And you'll be really glad to know, but she told me the other day that she's actually got the all clear, and which is absolutely fantastic news, and I am so pleased about. You can listen to her dietary and lifestyle approach that she took, which was really a mixture of Joanna Budwick and Max Gerson. She took very few supplements in the end, but she did it predominantly using diet and cleansing to resolve her health issues. A phenomenal woman and a phenomenal approach, and she shared it completely on that podcast, which I asked her to do. So, you know, if you have got people out there who have got a similar cancer picture and they're looking for potential of how to support it naturally, obviously I'm watching my language here, guys, because I'm not not allowed to actually say that it can actually do anything more than support, then please, put them onto that podcast, because she has got better doing this for herself, and she looks absolutely fantastic on it. And she did a brilliant interview as well. She was really clear, about 30 minutes long, that part of it. So, and it obviously worked really, really well, and I just find it's a real shame that, there are more people that aren't doing it really. And, when you learn of the hundreds of deaths, someone was telling me the other day about the hundreds, over 800 deaths or something a day. I think that was in the UK, just from cancers alone. And few are told about diet being a key factor in gene expression. I was actually talking to someone on Facebook, and they we were talking about cancer as a bigger picture and hemp. And, they were saying to me that diet will not change things, that if you've got it gene related. Well, I did a show earlier in the year, which talked about Sharon Osbourne having mastectomies, because in effect she'd been told she had the gene for cancer, and therefore it was better for her to have her breast off effectively. Actually, what people are not being told is that gene expression can be altered through diet. It can absolutely be altered through diet, and research shows that, and I talked about it on that show at the time. So if you can change gene expression through diet, and you can do it really, really, really quickly, then, the cancers that are linked with genes, then maybe it can be actually affected by diet. I'm obviously choosing my words really carefully there due to the Cancer Act. Oh, anyway, let's see what people are saying. What you're saying. Hello. Rich is currently reading The Power of Now. Which one? There's a couple, isn't there? Fantastic. Just give us a little bit of a review. Are you talking about Eckhart Tolle, aren't you? I was thinking about something else. Absolutely. Really, really nice book. He's got another one as well, which is really, really lovely as well. And staying in the now is can really help people who've got a real stress picture, of course, and just bringing everything back to what is currently happening, because mostly, we're driven by fears often. And when we bring it back to now, we're actually okay in the now. So lovely, lovely book. Yeah, Bitchin saying water. Amazed at how less tired he feels. He now drinks lots. Cool, absolutely brilliant. And drink it by the pint. Sip it all day is your best way to do it. If you're not used to drinking your water, sip it all day. Just trickle feed it through, and you'll feel much, much better. Talking about tiredness later, actually. And water is normally a key factor in that. Yeah, so fantastic little book on how we should all be thinking, and that's about the power of now. Absolutely. It is a really nice little book. And don't jinx it, Debs, loose. You're probably absolutely right. I'll try not to jinx anything. And let's have a look. 5 pints a day now. Is that of water, though? Bitching. Hopefully that's water. Let me see. What else? So Lucy's asking what type of water you're drinking. He's drinking tap water from the mountain. So there isn't that mountain water from the tap then, bitch. Okay. Healthy mind. Well, I'm all for a healthy mind at the end of the day. I think it's the biggest part of you, your health. Let's see what else you're saying. And Lucy said, I haven't recently relapsed on wheat, pizza, bread, etc. What can I do to cleanse my stuff? Well, it depends where you're starting from, doesn't it, really? Look at, you just start with bread. I always say just start with one meal of the day and just make it as healthy as you can during that day. You want water-rich foods, plant-rich foods, those sorts of things, anti-inflammatory foods. And, remove your junk. Just do it one thing at a time. But what I tend to do is I never say take anything out. I always say just push things in. So look at your breakfast and how you can make your breakfast more healthy. Fruits, smoothies, juices, and using, nice cereals, your mueslis, things like that. Make them yourself. Make cheaper mueslis, which are far better quality than ones that you buy. Put your nuts and seeds in there, soak them. Use flax if you've not got an estrogen dominance and things like that. It's a really nice breakfast. And the other thing is it'll start you really, really nicely for the day. Derwin Banks does a really nice muesli on his channel, which is all mixed nuts and seeds and things like that. Absolutely lovely. So try that. And the other thing is, things like that also slow down your need to eat other things. Make sure you've got the right fats in there and start off your day hydrated. And then guess what? You start off your day better, you feel better, and then you're more likely to carry it on for the rest of the day. So let's see what else. Duck Dodgers is here. Hi, kids. Nice. The duck has landed, apparently. Cool. Samurai, you're here. Oh, Samraj, sorry. And yes, nice to see you. Let's see. So I've actually got a bit of an infection going on today, so I thought I'd actually talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to talk about it in detail, of course, but I'm actually going to share with you how I'm busy removing some of it and how quickly I'm doing it, because I'm using vitamin C. And I'm taking about 1,000 milligrams, or I was taking. I've just muscle tested and I don't need to take any more at the moment. But I'm taking about 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C food state on the hour and have been since yesterday. Vitamin C actually acts as an antibiotic, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's far, far better for you than taking antibiotics, in my opinion. There is a place for antibiotics, don't get me wrong, but often they're handed out and they affect the bacteria in the body, in the intestinal tract, and this can have a devastating effect over the long term. So, if you've been taking a lot of antibiotics and you do not need to, if you've only got a slight infection, then in effect, it can be quite useful to have vitamin C in your toolkit. And Linus Pauling's work, is actually really interesting around vitamin C. And it's an inexpensive way of actually dealing with your health, in all honesty. Andrew Saul's book, that's Sauls, and he wrote a book called Doctor Yourself, and he's been on Scott Tips, so I don't know, I never seem to be able to find Scott's podcasts. Mate, hopefully, I think it's set up slightly differently now, the site, so hopefully I'll be able to get that. But hopefully the pod's on there. But he had him on his show, and this guy, his book predominantly covers off taking vitamin C and how it can be used for a massive amount of illnesses and disease states. And I will always make sure I put vitamin C in to all of my clients. So it's an inexpensive way of often dealing with ill health. And now I've muscle tested myself. And if you don't know about muscle testing, this is where you can either do it by putting your arm out, or I do it with my fingers, and I can see from the muscles how strong or weak my muscles are in regards to whether something's going to do me any good or not, and how much I actually need. And so this gives me a true understanding of my needs at each point of every single supplement and all my foods. So if you don't know how to muscle test, just get yourself onto YouTube. And if someone's on there and wants to actually, in the chat box, and wants to actually put a video up for me from YouTube on muscle testing, that'd be really great, because it's great to learn it. It really is great to learn it, because it will tell you whether any supplements you have are actually useful for you or not. It can be far less expensive for you in the long term, because your body will directly tell you whether something's good or not for you. It's also quite useful if you are not sure whether something's causing you an allergy as well. And a few years ago, I was trying to show someone that Butterkist and coffee wasn't actually vitamin B and vitamin C in their diet, and it was actually doing them a damage. And I muscle tested them, and then they went around the supermarket doing the whole same thing, whilst I showed them that it was making their body weak. And this is where muscle testing is really, really valuable to you. But I muscle tested the vitamin C, and now I don't need masses of it. In fact, I've probably had more or less enough for today. But I did load up this morning with about 3,000 milligrams, which my body wanted at that stage. And yesterday I took it up to 17,000 milligrams. So I took quite a lot yesterday to deal with what I had. And I started it loaded at the beginning of the day, and then it tails off as I go through the day. Now, the great thing about vitamin C is that your body will remove the excess due to it being water soluble. So if you do take too much, believe me, your body will exit it, and that's what I've just found. And you will know if you have very loose stools happening, believe me, and it will happen. So you'll know if you've had enough and you've reached your saturation point. That's effectively, that's what you're talking about. You've saturated your body with it and you don't need any more at that particular point. And then you can just muscle test from then onwards. So it's great. It is really, really quite useful. So let's see what people are saying. Anything. Where is the captain today? I know. Where is the captain today? That's what I was wondering, bitchin'. You know, he seems to have abandoned us. Let's have a look. Let's see. What else are you all saying? Yep, Lucid. Yep, they said to you should drink a pint of water in the morning before you eat. I always suggest that actually, not directly before you eat. The best thing to do is when you wake up in the morning to drink body temperature water. And that way it's absorbed. It's not held in the stomach. It's taken straight through to the bowel area, and it's absorbed far quicker into the actual system. And then if you drink, from half a pint to a pint, don't overload yourself. That is the thing. So you just drink until you've had enough at that point. So, it's really key, to not overload yourself. But always about 20 minutes before eating, drink a glass of body temperature water and then sip it the rest of the time. Leave about 30 minutes after eating so that you're not ruining your digestive enzymes, so that your stomach can do the job it's meant to do. But the great thing about drinking about 20 minutes before you eat is that it triggers a hormone. If you have a glass, it will trigger a hormone called mottling, and that then triggers peristalsis in the bowel, so it gets the bowel moving effectively, which is obviously, if you got one meal in, you need to get one meal out, and most people are not getting one meal in and one meal out. It tends to be one meal in and then one massive meal out on the next morning, and so it tends to accumulate throughout the day, whereas this approach tends to create peristalsis and it tends to move the bowel and help elimination. Also, it enables the body to not have to strip water from everywhere else when it's digesting, because digesting takes up a massive amount of energy. So it's, if you drink about 20 minutes before eating, it allows the body to hydrate itself effectively so that it can actually use the water in your digestive system, really well at that point to break down the foods that you're putting in. And it doesn't leave you feeling as tired as well. So hopefully that's been helpful. Let's see what else. And serotonin in the intestinal tract is affected. It's depleted by gluten and the junk. There's lots of things depleted by gluten. Gluten has a massive impact, mainly because it reduces the absorption area. So you're immediately impacting on the ability of your body to absorb the nutrients it needs. So you've got that aspect of things happening. And of course, gluten contains opiates. So it's shown to affect the actual functioning of the brain. So yes, it impacts not only on serotonin, but it impacts on a number of neurotransmitters. So it will affect that. So let's see. Till you feel you're hydrating, till you feel your eyes hydrating. It's an interesting point, actually, Lucid. A lot of people will come and they'll say about their dry eyes, and they'll feel sandy and everything. And often, if your eyes are feeling sandy, then guess what? It is just a muscle, your eye, and you are probably dehydrated. Yeah. So Lee's asking, I always thought having liquids with meals like breakfast hindered the stomach's natural process of breaking down foods using natural stomach acids. It does, but so what I've effectively said is you would drink about 20 minutes before. You need to leave that gap so that, in effect, the time has gone through you. It's had the opportunity to go through your system, and therefore it's not reducing the enzyme ability within your stomach and through the digestive tract. So, yeah. And if you're drinking whilst eating, then you need to drink whilst eating, then your hydration levels are probably not right, and you need to have hydrated yourself far, far more during the time beforehand. And Rich is saying, would you suggest doing enemas now and again to keep the colon and bowel clean? Well, as a naturopath, we truly believe in enemas and making sure that the bowel is, one, functioning properly, two, it's not accumulating waste, and 3 to hydrate the body. So we will use enemas in a number of different ways. One, it's because it's one of the fastest ways to hydrate the body. So if someone is chronically dehydrated, well, we use it in that capacity. But also enemas, and I'm talking only about water enemas at this point, we will use it to cleanse out the bowel if someone's bowels are not functioning very well and they're sluggish, because it's far better to remove that waste than it is for it to accumulate. So yes, we do use enemas indeed. And Lee saying a cup of golden sugar tea is vital for the first thing in the morning. Brain needs glucose. Brain needs glucose indeed. It doesn't need sugar, and it doesn't need refined sugar, and it doesn't need tea, which is a adrenaline hit. And it really doesn't need that, in all honesty, not from my perspective, Lou. So I'm going to dispute that. Maybe yours does, but mine certainly does it. So let me get back to some of the vitamin C, because vitamin C is really, really fascinating, to be honest. There's been loads of research done on it, but actually there's more research done on water, mind you, on the water molecule, and water's won more Nobel Prizes. The research into water's won more Nobel Prizes than any other molecule. Interesting. But vitamin C, it's actually required to help synthesize collagen, which is actually one of your natural, it's your structural component of your blood vessels, things like your tendons, your ligaments, your bones. So obviously, it's going to be quite useful to have in your diet vitamin C, as you can imagine, if you want to have strong bones and, you want to look the part. So you've got to have it as, for me, it's always about have as much as you can in your diet. Have it as part of your diet. I will always look at diet. Supplements are nice to have on top, and we use them to actually resolve deficiencies. But so they're not an automatic to just constantly put in. Some people just take them across the board, and actually we don't work like that as naturopathic nutritionists, particularly as naturopaths. We always look at, the reason why we're specifically giving it, and, and vitamin C, have it as part of your diet. Have a phyto-rich vegetable and fruit diet, with all your bioflavonoids and all those sorts of things. Your antioxidants. Your body will sing. It will be euphoric because of it. It's not just happiness, it's euphoria. You want every single cell in your body to be, singing like a choir together. Can you imagine them all? Yay! All feeling absolutely fantastic. Because that's what you want, your happy cells. And if you don't have the right diet, then guess what? They can't be happy. They're struggling, and it's no fun, is it? Not at all. So, get them in. And you know what? It's only us, and I think it's guinea pigs. I'm not sure whether there's another animal who basically can't make vitamin C. So maybe one of you guys out there know which other one doesn't make vitamin C. I'm not quite so sure. Right, so let's see what else is. Sugar is big, good, not. Honey's better for you. Depends on what your health picture is, in all honesty. Lou's saying his father had an enema once. My God, he'd never heard a man howl like that before. Cracking moment. I've got some enema stories. Maybe I'll do a show on enemas. Is organic unrefined sugar okay then? You're looking at keeping your sugar low and having it as proper fruit and vegetables. That's your ideal perspective, Lucid. Always have it as a complete food as much as you can, because, of course, it has the minerals and vitamins around it to actually unpack it properly within the body. Refined sugar doesn't come with all the minerals, and therefore the body has to scavenge for the minerals to be able to then break it down in the body effectively. So your body is always in a deficit, and that's just one of the things I could talk about around sugar. Never mind the rising inflammation, the impact on your calcitonin levels, the impact on your bones, the impact on insulin levels. It goes on and on and on, sugar. It really, really does. And you're far better having it as a food, as fruit and vegetables. Seriously. Vitamin C buckthorn is far out. Yeah. Is it? And Bitchin saying water's his new friend. Bitchin, you just need to get out more, you know that. Can someone save bitching and take him out, and not just with his pint of water? That's going to be really sad. I'd go to the pub and probably order a pint of water. Okay. Let's see. Lee, I still believe that most of these issues are partly psychosomatic. I believe in the power of the mind over matter. I'm not going to agree that they're partly psychosomatic, but I do agree that the mind plays a massive, massive part in your health. And I really do see that about 90% of health is in the mind. And you can change things overnight often. And I see that with clients. I can change things overnight just because I've enabled them to see a different perspective. So, and aloe vera, which says is a good inner cleanse. Aloe vera is an amazing food, absolutely amazing food. I have to say, if it can soothe it can soothe all the intestinal tract. It has sugars in it, which is really, really good for the body. It has a full range of vitamins and minerals. The impact of aloe vera can be astonishing, particularly on the skin. Feeds the body from the inside. Lovely, lovely food. If you can't afford to buy it, grow it, because I promise you, if you've got a garden and you've got some space, aloe vera, they just grow like mad. You do have to look after them during our winter. You have to fleece them up so that they stay warm. They don't like to be cold and they die. I learnt that one year when I came out and discovered they'd all died on me. And then felt very, very guilty about killing my plants. But, aloe vera, fantastic. You cut the leaf off, wait till they get really, really big, and then basically, you eat the gel inside, or you can just take the gel out and put it into smoothies and things like that. Astonishing food. Absolutely amazing. Help you reduce inflammation, that sort of thing. You can use it externally as well as internally. Man, it's fantastic. Let me see. So my friend was telling me that there is a way to cleanse all three areas in the bowl. I think you mean bowel region rather than bowl region, Rich. Colon, kidney and liver. The thing is that we have an elimination cycle. And the elimination cycle basically, so when your cell, you have metabolism, you have metabolic waste, and that's, that comes out of the cell into your lymph, out into your blood, then through the liver and out into your bowel. And it'll use your skin, it will. And of course, your lungs basically are eliminating toxicity on a moment-by-moment basis. And they remove about 75% of your toxicity, which is why breathing is one of the most important things you need to be doing. Don't get scrunched up if you're sitting there. Oh, sit up now. Come on, breathe. Oxygenate those cells, oxygenate that lungs. Fantastic. And the thing is if your colon is compacted, guess what? It then has a knock-on effect on the liver. And then that will kick out into kidneys. And this way you see infections and things like this. And so that will then back up into your blood, and then that backs up into your lymph, and then that goes, it's just this cycle. If it can't get out of the body, guess what it does? It basically stores itself within the body. It has no other way of getting out. So this is where we see spots and stuff like this happening, inflammation happening, pain happening, because the body's going, whoa, I need to keep this toxicity away from my organ system. Let's place it elsewhere. So in effect, it will push it around the body away from it. This is where people often get joint pain at the ends of their bodies, because the body would rather push it towards the end of their, peripherals, their limbs, than actually having near the organ systems. So, Lee, apparently, cheers, we nearly agree on stuff. Hurrah! That's what I like. So, this is where your elimination cycle is absolutely key. Go back to the podcast that I did with Lisa the other week, the colon hydrotherapist. She was talking about, the issues that you get when your body cannot eliminate. And this is where, you do need to cleanse, but predominantly if you keep that bowel moving, everything else is allowed to follow. So partly I see a lot of issues because of hydration and because the bowel, stress has impacted on the bowel and it's stopped it from functioning properly. Nick's got loads of aloe vera in pots in the kitchen. Fantastic. Yeah, grow aloe. Yes, 6 plants now, Rich says. Fantastic. Even better. Yeah. Let's see what else. Da-da-da-da. This is me, I'm reading at the same time. Called Vera. Yeah, Lee, we used to have a woman called Vera. I used to have a series of aloe vera plants, and I used to call them aloe vera. And then, because you had to say it in that voice, and hello. Anyway, very possibly it was only me that found that funny. So, I'll say there's only once. Now, where was that with vitamin C? Oh, let me see. Duck Dodgers, what are you saying? What effect do soft drinks like Coke have on our bodies? Duck, are you seriously asking me that? Coke is a killer. Well, firstly, you've got your sugar impact, and depending on, so that, you've got, where do I start? Does anyone else want to answer that for Duck? Because the impact of Coke is absolutely huge with it. One, the inflammation just from the sugar hit, the obesity issues. You're getting most of your calories probably through sugar. It's empty calories. The body has to unpack it. It then draws other minerals to be able to unpack it. And that then creates deficiency because those minerals are busy unpacking that sugar. They're not actually working to build your body at that point. It sees it as a poison. It's overloading. Your body has to kick out hormones, in effect, to be able to manage the level of sugar, which will be a really fast hit within your bloodstream. It imbalances the hormones within the bloodstream. Whoa, stacks and stacks of stuff, one after another. Your body will draw calcium out because you become more acidic. So, in effect, your body will draw calcium out of your bones to enable that sugar to then be unpacked properly and to buffer the acidity. And then you've got, the insulin picture alone, because you've got like this, insulin acts like a lock and key. And if you're constantly having high sugar, your body gets tired. The organs get tired of providing all of the time when you're having a high sugar diet. Yeah, Nick's absolutely right. It's best for using to clean the toilet bowl. I didn't even know you could do that. And then you've got the aspartame ones. And aspartame will, effectively it turns to wood alcohol in the body, and then it's got the chemical response it has. It creates formaldehyde. So in effect, you're pickling your body, is my understanding with aspartame. And that's just one aspect of it. Never mind the fact that it's actually shown in research to be producing cancer. It affects the neurotransmitters, aspartame. It acts as almost what's called an excitotoxin, which then excites your cells to death. So it's killing off your brain cells fundamentally. If you want to kill yourself, drink that aspartame. Very useful for not being able to think clearly. They like you not to be able to think clearly. But the impacts of Coke, I don't even know the ingredients of it because I don't drink it anymore. Literally anything sugar laden is always going to cause your body a problem and always going to cause heightened inflammation. It's always going to have an impact on your liver. Therefore, that's going to impact on your endocrine system. It's going to affect your hormones due to that. It's just a knock-on effect, one by one by one. And it will affect your calcitonin levels, therefore that will affect your calcium in your bones, therefore it will strip your bones. That's why I see so many women with who've had high sugar diets throughout their life with osteoporosis, and then their doctors are giving them calcium, and actually it's not the calcium that they need, it's to come off the sugar that's the issue. So because of the high acidity levels, it just causes heightened acidity. So yeah, it's like fizzy brown battery acid. In many respects, yeah. And Bitchin used to deliver Coke concentrate. Oh my God. You've got a sordid background, Bitchin. Have you left all that behind now? And Sprite is adding stevia to their cans. Interesting. I didn't realise that. So let me see. And Rich is saying his mum uses cling film. Yeah, there was just new research out this week, wasn't there, which showed that the BPA levels in plastics were being shown to, in research, give asthma to children. That was in what doctors don't know, what don't tell you. So there you go. And yeah, it's absolutely the same as what's inside the tins. most tins now, in case you don't realise, have it's that white film that's inside them, so you don't see the tin as you used to see them when I was a youngster. And in effect, this white film inside is full of BPAs, and of course we really don't want that at all, because of the effect on our bodies. And they're showing that this is just causing massive issues. I know it causes hormonal issues and it affects the endocrine system, and that's as a minimum. Now that research has shown that it actually causes asthma in children. And these BPAs are actually in printing inks and all sorts of things. They put them in all sorts of things. Bear thinking about, does it? And Mark's saying, read the Mark Thomas book. Nick's saying, read the Mark Thomas book, Belching Out the Devil, about what Coca-Cola does in regards to business practices. Do any of these big corporates who are feeding us these foods actually have positive business practices in reality on the larger scale? Like I've got a Mac, and quite frankly, I'm often appalled at, their business practices. Never mind, the poor people who are making them. Right. So, yeah, I agree. McCann Baird. I think bitching was a drug dealer in the past. Yep. I think, basically delivering Coke concentrate actually would classify him in my eyes as that. Shame on you, bitching, honestly. Anyway, where was I? Managed to get me off. Oh, what else are you saying? And Lee saying people are being slightly poisoned with melamine, formaldehyde trace from plastic plates. It goes on and on and on. This is the thing. And with all of these chemicals, we've been told over and over again that they're safe. And actually, everything should almost have the same warning on it as the cigarette packet. It really should. These things are not just likely to kill you. They are. In big letters, you should be able, when you buy your melamine, your plastic picnic plates, in the middle should say, this plate kills. Honestly, it's how you live in your life, rock and roll, because everything in it is almost taking you to near death. Bitchin was a KGB assassin. I think you're going a bit far now. He just delivered Coca-Cola. And he was a lollipop lady. And a Nazi V2 rocket scientist. Oh, man. What else do we reckon bitching was? Oh, right. So where was I? I was only talking about vitamin C, wasn't I? I wasn't. How did this all get off vitamin C? So where was I? And whoever was talking about the impact on the brain, vitamin C actually plays a really important role in the synthesis of your neurotransmitters, neuropene, and they're actually obviously critical to your brain functioning. They're actually little messengers. All these things are little messengers throughout the body, and they have a massive impact on mood. And if you look at people drinking Coke all day, they have mood swings and caffeine. People who are on caffeine and sugar, high sugar, you will see they have a lot of mood swings. People who are under high stress and are eating a lot of sugar and taking a lot of caffeine, and they have a lot of mood swings. And if you look at the diet, often it isn't rich in plants, and it's not rich, in your fruit and vegetables and things like this. And therefore, you're not getting the vitamin C, which feeds, and all the other vitamins, which feed these neurotransmitters, which keep you feeling balanced. Oh my God, apparently bitching was the person on the grassy knoll. Cracking. Bitchin, get your coat, go on, you've been rumbled. Absolutely. Yeah, and Lee, you're absolutely right, it is all about the calories these days. Everybody talks to me about calories and is focused on them, and I never look at calories. I never say to my clients, look at the calories. I actually look at nutrients. I'm far more interested in the nutrients that are going into the body, because they create the messengers that actually the body needs. They create the building blocks that the body needs to enable itself to build itself properly, to deal with the stress effectively, to think clearly, to enable the nutrients and the bloodstream to work really well, so that the nutrients get to the right parts, so the body can unpack it really effectively. Honestly. I'm not reading it all out. No, I'm actually doing most of this off. How can I read most of this out today? I'm not joking. I've read most of it off the chat box today. You are so cheeky. What else do we think that Bitchin' Bob was doing? Apparently, Bitchin', you had a fight with Bruce Lee and won. Now you are making me laugh, Rich. And McCann Bear saying you like calories. Everyone likes calories. The thing is, you can often be eating a lot more calories than they define if they are good quality calories. The body will, if you are eating a really good diet, then nutritionally, and I'm talking about nutritionally, where it is totally balanced and you're getting your range of vitamins and minerals and fats and your proteins and everything. And guess what? The body switches itself on and off as it is hungry, and it will search for the right foods. If you're not, then it starts to just search for any foods. And this is where we end up going, I've eaten 300 calories for breakfast. Now I can only have 300 calories for lunch, and I can have 200 calories as a snack in between. But it doesn't, there's no focus on what actually is making up those calories. They get you on this, they get you focused on this number. And it's almost like you could have 300 calories in the morning, and it could be, let's go back to Lucid, a packet of Smarties and your Cocoa Puffs. What benefit is that to the body? Lucid, are you still alive? Let's find out. In all honesty. Apparently Bitchin' was there at the Fall of Rome. I knew that to be a reason. But Chuck Norris kicked your ass. Oh. Blimey, is that true, Duck? Vera, you reckon bitches call Vera? Does that actually happen at the weekend? And McCann Bear saying, it is mad counting your calories. You're absolutely right. And the McCann Bear saying, listen to your body, it knows best. It does. But when it is stressed and when it's not getting the right nutrients, it will just search. And this is where people will say, I've just eaten and eaten and eaten. And they, even after they've eaten, they want more foods. And this is because they're not getting the right foods in the first place. And so the body's searching for the nutrients it's missing, or it needs to actually unpack the food properly, unpack the nutrients properly, because it's in a mineral deficit, or it's in a vitamin deficit. Duck saying hello, Vera. I think you've hit it off, you and Bitchin'. Nice. Always happens on my show. Really does. So, vitamin C helps with the neurotransmitters. It really does. All those little messengers. So if you want to be in the mood, you two, hey, they help with your critical brain functions. All that beautiful vitamin C. So, and the whole point was that I was telling to you why I was doing this, which was basically, that I had a little bit of an infection. But the great thing about vitamin C is it actually helps with the transportation of fat into your cells, which are your organelles, which actually, for your mitochondria. So it actually helps you to convert fat into energy, and that's through your carnitine. So in effect, it can be really, really beneficial, making sure you've got this range of nutrients. And I'm not just saying it for the good of my health, but if you want to convert your fat into energy, and often people are really struggling with that aspect of things, they don't seem to be able to, actually, they tend to either store fat and they notice it, or when they're eating fats, they're passing through their system. In effect, have a look at your nutrient levels, particularly around vitamin C. And hopefully, I was thinking that I might be actually talking about energy later, but in all honesty, I don't think I'm going to get onto it since I've got really distracted. And in particular about the fact that Bitchin's managed to pull on my show today, and with Duck Dodgers, who said hello Vera. Oh, nice. And he's getting his coat, and Duck's saying, get your coat, you've pulled. And Bitchin knows he's in there. Woohoo. Wow. I'd not even thought about starting up Food for Thought dating, but I can see that, look what happens. I tell you all to drink a little bit of water, get you all more energy, and hey, spring comes and it's giving you a little bit of a spring in your step. And Lee's saying he's often possessed by the spirit of Cookie Monster, and your body's invaded after that point. Invasion of the body snatchers. I suppose if you're going to be invaded by anything, a Cookie Monster is probably one of the most funniest things to be invaded by. Does that mean you turn blue and you're all a bit furry as well? Hopefully you'll answer that. We can all have a laugh about it. But this is the thing. Once we put sugar in, it often drives that need. Manufacturers aren't stupid. They balance the foods out on purpose to make you crave more of them. One of my first shows with Gregory Ann Cox last year, she used to work in the catering industry, and part of her role was to actually design foods that were so moreish that you ended up wanting more. The profits don't come from you eating one or eating half a cookie and going, oh, that was really nice, enjoyed that bite, don't need any more. They're balanced on purpose nutritionally so that you go, oh, that was nice, I've got to have all of that and the rest of the packet. And then guess what the supermarkets do? Oh, 3 for 2, fantastic. They draw you in, and then they you're tied in forever. God. And Bitch is saying, where's your slingbacks? Ian Alone is saying, I'm ravenous all the time. If that's serious, then first of all, look at your hydration levels. Often we think we're hungry and actually we're dehydrated, and we're chronically dehydrated. One of the first things to get in place, then the body can start unpacking the nutrients properly. Then look at the types of diets that the types of foods that you've got in your diet, and how nutritionally it goes across the board and wide ranging it is. Potentially your body's needing to actually needing specific nutrients, and it's going in search of them. Start with breakfast, the best meal of the day, and actually start to look at what you can get in there with nuts, seeds, and all those sorts of things. Your fruits, try and get a juice in if you can, and then see how you're feeling after that, and then work. Make sure that you've got salads and fruit and veg. You should be eating. The government say about 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day. I say it's near 9 to 12 portions of vegetables, and a portion's about 80 grams, and I say it's about the size of my fist, but that's absolutely no use to any of you on radio, is it? So so I'm 5'3", really slight female, so I've only got small hands, so therefore if you can imagine the size of my hand, but seriously, it's only 80 grams. So you're looking at about ideally 5 portions across the day, and then to elevate it to 9 to 12, and then see whether you're still ravenous all the time. Don't know whether you're male or female, but if you are female, then potentially look at adding flax meal to your diet in the mornings and see how that supports you. If you've got an estrogen dominance, then don't do that. Okay, but that can actually help to suppress your appetite, but also give you high amounts of nutrients and things like this. And then look at your oils and stuff like that. So, okay, Ian, you're ravenous all the time. Maybe you're not eating enough then, Ian. Seriously, a lot of my clients who eating very, very healthily, often my raw foodists, are hungry all the time, and it's because they're genuinely not eating enough, and they're not getting enough nutrients in for their diet and for their weight. So, Bitchin, blimey, Bitchin's being serious. He looks like he's thrown his slingbacks off and he's put his coat to one side. Ducks, what did you do? Why are nuts good for your health? Yep, they've got the oils in them. Nuts, you've got your essential fatty acids in there, so depending on which nuts they are, they've got a series of minerals in them, series of vitamins in them, but it's the oils. They're a good oils and protein mix. Soak them, and it triggers the enzymes in them, which makes them far, far better for you to be able to digest them, so they're not as heavy. You don't need a lot of them, because they're quite rich, and have a range of them. People who've got low hydration levels and high problems with the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, in effect, will find it harder to digest, and that'll give you a really good indication on whether you are dehydrated or not, and you need to do some work on that. But a good way to actually be able to digest your nuts, so to speak, is in effect soak them and then actually add them to things. Chia seeds in particular are fantastic for omega oils, amazing, but they contain oils and the body can break them down really effectively. So it's a really nice way of getting oils into the body. And in regards to your antioxidants, the problem that you have with nuts is that you need to keep them in the fridge, because the oils will go rancid, and when they're stored, actually when you buy them, don't buy ones that are really broken and chipped and things like this. Buy them that are whole, and if you can, buy them shelled so that you're unshelling them. Stick them straight in the fridge and then eat them bit by bit out of the fridge. The best time to buy them, I always think, is Christmas, because it's one of the few times you can buy them with the shell on them. And then, just have a look at them. You'll notice if they look rancid, and they just don't taste right either, nuts, when they've gone rancid. And lots of shops will sell them because they don't care at the end of the day. They've often been sitting around for a while, but the nuts in them will go rancid. And a great thing to do is, you will want to have them with things like your vitamin E's, your antioxidants, like your plant foods, because, of course, your plant foods prevent the oxidation of the fats from happening. So I'm still ravenous all the time, said the zombie to the specialist health advisor. Nice. I'm backing off right now. Can't put any weight at 9 stone. Without actually talking to you more specifically about what's going on, there'll be a number of reasons, and you may have to look at your hormonal balance and things like that, about why you can't put on any weight if you're struggling to put on weight. I often find that people who are struggling to keep their weight up are either not eating correctly in some way, are not eating enough, or their hormonal balance is out. Like your thyroid, your glands, you've knocked your glands out in some way, and in effect you need to actually get those back in functioning properly, or you're suffering from high stress. So it's pretty difficult for me to answer that specifically, so you might want to go and speak to someone about those aspects if you're looking to put on weight. So, Richard, how many dating websites as it is? Yeah, I know. I cannot believe there's too many dating websites. I cannot believe that. Well, you know what? I'm Duck Dodgers. I'm male, Pisces, and looking for that special someone. I thought you'd found it in bitching as he's put his slingbacks to one side. Nuts are good for minerals, absolutely. Food is good for you. Good food, if it's not got labels all over it, if you can look at it and automatically it's natural, it's what your grandma, years ago would have eaten. You've not got this list of ingredients with it and foreign names, then guess what? It's going to be far better for you at the end of the day. And Lee's saying, I'm only blue and hairy on Thursdays down the men's club. Right, half of me has to remember back through the chat box. I'm assuming that's to do with Cookie Monster and the spirit of Cookie Monster. Well, hopefully it's not the fact that you just need a shave. And Richie's saying it's just hairy. How did this get on to hairy? And Maurice, apparently, as far as Lee's concerned, wears a pink tutu. And Jake, I'm just not going to read that out on air. And Duck, I haven't got a runny bottom. Just had too much vitamin C. And Bitchin saying it's the size of the portion size of your vegetables is the size of a juggle ball. Indeed. And juggling is really, really quite a cool way of de-stressing. It really is. I've been shown. Which is quite nice. 80-gram thuds are the norm. Guess you're dropping those juggling balls there, Bitchin. And Ian's saying he soaked his nuts in the shower this morning. Thanks, Ian. Just behave yourselves, okay? And the Doug's saying the Cadbury's diet will help you put weight on. It will do. You're absolutely right. And Bitchin's asking, what part do adrenals play in our health? A huge part. Absolutely huge part. And Lee's asking me, can I explain what the spleen does? No one really talks about Mr. Spleen. That's a really good point, actually. And I'll tell you what, I'll do a show on spleen next week. I'll write that down. So I will look at spleen, because I will look at all the Chinese element side for you as well. And I will look at the supporting diet and everything, which some of it I can do off the top of my head. Some of it I've got massive amounts of notes on. So I can give you a short explanation here, or I can do a bit more of a show on it, which I think will probably be more useful, because I'm going to talk about foods and everything that supports spleen. And you're absolutely right. Nobody talks about spleen. We don't talk about it enough. Okay. So, and it does, McCambed, it cleans the blood. Yeah, absolutely. So, right then, I'm going to have a break, because as you can probably hear, I'm starting to lose my voice, even with all this water that I'm drinking. So I'm going to find out from Nick, hopefully, who's listening, what on earth we're going to play next, because he's in charge of that. All right, we're going to play the cult, and I cannot tell. Something, honey. So it's all about sweetness. All right, we're going to play Honey from a Knife. There you go, guys. Enjoy it. Oh, I do like Band of Skulls. I really do. Okay, well, in a show where Bitchin's apparently been outed as the man on the grassy knoll, and I seem to have set up a dating site, and I found out that Coke takes the lime scale off your toilet. It's been really interesting, guys. Thank you very much. So it's not where I thought the show would be going in the slightest. I was going to talk about tiredness and vitamin C, but, I've basically got down about a third of my notes. That's as far as it's got. So where are we? Jim and Lorraine, you're here. I never know whether it's one or the other, so I just assume that it's both of you. And so hello. Rich, herb wisdom, absolutely very good information on herbal remedies indeed. Thank you for posting that. Lee is saying meals containing too much processed meat, such as cheap ham, bacon, sausages, could send you into an early grave. A large-scale study has found. You know what? I am just amazed that they have to do studies about these things, in all honesty, to find out what is the glaringly obvious, that someone who lives on that diet, lo and behold, is a candidate for heart disease and obesity. Honestly, it absolutely astonishes me. Yeah, I can't. I was reading some research the other week, and it was just to find out the bloody obvious. How much money do we spend on research that is absolutely unnecessary on finding out what is glaringly obvious to most people? Yeah, so absolutely, keep consuming and take those yummy goods off the shelf. And they probably have got horse in them, no matter what they say. And I'll be honest, this whole horse fiasco, well, quite frankly, I'm astonished they got meat in them at all, in many respects. I can't believe people are going mad about the fact it's got horse in them. Well, I'd just be grateful they got some meat in them. I'm amazed that some of these supermarkets are even bothering to put meat in them, considering, it's only a matter of time before it's really Solent green. Rich is saying he grows his own food. Excellent, that's what I think. So, let's see what else you've all been saying. 3 for 2 bargains. I know, they just suck you in all the time with these 3 for 2 bargains. And they, one, I feel quite sorry for some of the smaller manufacturers of what is sometimes good quality food, because then the supermarkets squeeze them on price so that they can get, them out on the shelves. And it's the manufacturer that takes the hit. But then it's always on junk food. It's nearly always on rubbish foods. You know, I don't see 3 for 2 on organic apples. I'll be absolutely honest. And Bitchin saying all he knows is that since he's changed his diet, water, daily salads, fruit, etc. included, he's feeling totally different. And that's probably why Dux was in there earlier. He's got a bit more energy by the sounds of it. That's good for you, Dux. Duck Dodgers. Rich is saying, good man, Bob. And apparently he feels like Lazarus. Excellent. So Duck's off to get some Coke and chips. Nice. Don't bother coming back. All right. So Lee's saying, so the poison in my food, my air, my life, my mind, there's poison in my toothpaste, my cookware, plates, worktops, but I don't believe in malevolent conspiracy to harm me at all. No, it's all perfectly normal. You're absolutely right. Just resume normal functioning and get yourselves to work and make themselves a profit, Lee. Don't question anything, okay? Don't want you questioning anything. And once you've had, you know, the poison in your food, your air, your life, your mind, the toothpaste, cookware, plates, worktops, you won't be able to think straight anyway. So there you go. Don't worry about it. And Lee's asking for a Diet Coke from the fridge. Someone getting one? Yeah. Okay. So let's see. It's all about common sense. You're absolutely right, Bitchin. I agree. You know, in many respects, diet is literally just about common sense. Eat as natural as possible, and you cannot really go wrong because your body will then tell you what it needs to eat. So let's see. What else? Yeah, Bitchin saying actually there's been research to show that the more the heart beats, the younger we could die. And I remember Tom Evans coming on the show and talking about slowing down the heart rates and the slower your heart beats, the lengthening of your life. And he talks about the animals who have slower heartbeats. And that might be an interesting pod for you to go back to and have a listen to, because he's really quite interested about that. And Bitchin saying he's smoking less. Blimey, Bitchin, you are changing your lifestyle. I've only seen you on this in my chat box about twice. Look at the effect that I've had. You're going to tell me someone else has had that effect, aren't you now? And Lee saying, yes, Debbie, the experts did a study that told us what we already know, but they're cleverer than us. Absolutely, they are cleverer than us. That's why they've got qualifications after the name. But you know what? There's no one more intelligent than you and your body, and you will always know what is going on if you listen to it. That's the great thing about the body. You don't need somebody else to be telling you what's wrong with your body. You don't need anybody else, even people like me, to tell you what to eat. You just need to eat the right things, and the dashboard of your body will do the rest of the work. It will show you pain when it's not happy. It will slow down. It will do all those sorts of things. And when it's working properly, you have energy, you have vibrancy, and guess what? You have euphoria. Well, maybe not quite, but, you know, you can aim for it. Isn't that good? Cool. Right then. Say it, so I'm quiet in the chat box. What's happened to you all? You all gone off for a Coke, probably, with Lee. I demand that you get back here now. And we're talking about energy is really interesting for me because our bodies obviously need energy to actually heal themselves. And if you haven't got any energy, then guess what? Your body just doesn't heal. And it cannot do it. Basically, you know, have its metabolic processes functioning properly. And that's actually quite serious. Because if you're feeling exhausted, then your body is feeling exhausted. And vitamin C is actually a key part of that. And therefore having a rich diet in plants and plant foods, which is your fruits and vegetables, is really important to get these nutrients into the body. It is, vitamin C is a key component of energy within your health. It really does, enable your fat to be converted to energy. And, one of the early symptoms I was reading that was linked to scurvy was actually fatigue, which I didn't really realise, to be honest, until I was just going back through my notes on vitamin C. And, that's actually because of diminished levels of carnitine. And this is where I constantly say your diet is really important. Often we end up taking specific nutrients, in individual nutrients, because like such a magazine's told us that zinc could be useful, or we need to have vitamin D for this, and the doctor said, oh, you're deficient in this, and highly likely that you are, in all honesty. But often it can be gained through having a balanced diet, a balanced lifestyle. So vitamin C is just part of this, and that's why I've upped my vitamin C levels at the moment. But it's about the whole 5 portions a day. It needs to be more like 9 or 12 of your vegetables. Get them in, and you'll gain energy and vitality. Even bitching saying there about how he's changed small things in his diet, and look how different he's feeling already. Amazing. Gosh, I'm inspired. Maybe I'll do it. But vitamins is just one of those vitamins that is needed for energy. You've got things like your B vitamins as well, but C, most people don't actually think of C giving you your vital energy, but it helps with bone building, all that sort of thing. Like I was saying, your collagen, synthesis of collagen, fantastic, enables you to build your body again. It really does. And vitamin C is really important for bones. And the thing is that often, and I was saying earlier about osteoporosis with Coke, with the sugar, often I will see people and they're basically talking about the fact that they've got this bone density picture, and therefore they've been given calcium by their doctor and told to take massive amounts of calcium, and they're in quite a lot of pain. And I remove the calcium, and they're looking at me going, yeah, but calcium builds bones. Actually, it's a synthesis of nutrients that build bones, and calcium is one of them. Lo and behold, just because it's the majority of calcium, you need vitamin C to enable you to have strong bones. You really, really do. And this is where balanced diet is really key. So, apparently Bitchin's left his fags in the pub, or was it the chippy? Oh, God. It's probably where you left your slingbacks. Right. Let's see what else. What else has been going on? Oh, and Bitchin said, I tried to suggest to my mum that her friend has been diagnosed with cancer should look at alternatives to chemo. Got the face ate off me. It is a shame. It is a shame. But, at the end of the day, people will go with what their doctors have told them. And, we're not allowed to say that there's alternatives to chemo. But diet is a way of supporting, and as you've heard today with Beata, it looks like she's resolved her cancer picture through using the support of alternatives. Obviously, I'm picking my words really carefully there. And Nick's saying, gave up trying to explain to a mate that lettuce and tomato on his Big Mac does not count as 2 portions. No. And McCann some of the vitamin C tablets, they get the vitamin C from sheep's wool, so I heard was on the radio. So the best thing to do, McCann, is I basically research. I only use specific supplement companies, and I know about them ethically, and I know about their supplements in a lot of detail, and therefore that's why I use them. And I don't use synthetic supplements with my clients. I use supplements that I know are going to fundamentally work. And kernel seeds, apricot kernels, are supposedly good against cancer. I've heard that too as well. I grind them down and have them in smoothies. B17, it's latreel. There you go. Go and have a look at latreel. There is information out there on that. So, indeed. And just talking about kind of amounts that I tend to use of supplements, I often push my RDA levels of supplements up much further than actually the recommended dosage on the back of the supplement packet. And partly that's because I know what I'm doing. Partly that's because I can muscle test, so I know how much to take. And it's very rare that I actually take the RDA on vitamins and minerals. And minerals I'm a bit more careful with, in all honesty, because you can overdose and you can knock things out of balance really quite easily. But, you know, you can take them much higher if you know what you're doing, and get yourself a good nutrition book. And I mean a good nutrition book, which is, you know, what a nutritional practitioner would do. So if you are interested in actually understanding your nutrients in more detail and what you can do, there's a couple of big Bibles out there which you can get secondhand and will give you amounts so that you don't overdose on them and things like that. But it's very rare that will happen, but more likely to happen on minerals than vitamins, in all honesty. But remember that everything works synergistically, so it's better to have a collective, like a complex, like a B complex or a multi, than it is to actually have individual ones, unless you specifically know what you want to do and what you're actually dealing with. Okay, so and if you're dealing with a specific deficiency, so you're putting D in, then do that. But there are supplements out there with higher D levels and stuff like that, which will help you do that far more holistically. Okay. We've gone quiet in the chat box. Everyone else gone off for a Coke, haven't they? Or has everyone ended up in the chippy today? That'd be typical, won't it? You'll end up in the chippy. It is chippy time as well, isn't it? Chippy dinner's a Friday, though. That's what happened with me in the north. Yes. When I moved here, and I live in Surrey, and I went to the chip shop for the first week on the Friday, and I queued up. And this is quite a few years ago, so this is before I saw the light, as we say. Maybe I didn't see the light, who knows? But anyway, I waited in this queue, and I said to the girl behind the counter, and I'll try not to swear, because I did swear quite a lot on that day, I said, could I have cheese pie, chips and gravy? Now, it's pretty normal fare in the north of England, where I come from. And she said, we don't do cheese pie. So I said, okay. And I was thinking, I've just queued up for about half an hour. Could I have chips and gravy? She said, I don't have gravy. My response wasn't particularly polite at that point, but it was around the fact that whether they actually did chips or not. Anyway, they did do chips, but the portion I got was particularly small at that point. It helped my health, but it didn't help my hunger, if I'm honest. And I took great learning from that, which was not to abuse the person who was in a level of control on the other side of a counter of my chips. And I got a very small portion. So there you go. Anyway, so that was my experience of chippy dinners when I moved south. And I only really eat chippy dinners now if I go north. Because as Southerners, you don't really know how to do chippy dinners, in all honesty. It's very hard to find good chips here, unless they're done by a northerner. Yeah, Nick's saying, moving stuff was great for the health. Chips are rubbish. Yeah, absolutely. Chips are rubbish here. The batter, you have no idea how to do true batter. Not that I eat fish anymore, but that's what my friends say. I'm bitching saying they're all helping me to find fags. Who are all helping you, bitch? I'm a northerner. I am indeed, Rich. I'm not sure. Didn't you not pick that up? Or did you actually think I was from Surrey? And no one knows about spam fritters. No one knows about spam fritters. We were forced to eat them as children at school. Absolutely, spam fritters. I've forgotten all about them. And Lucy's saying, make your own chips, come on. I know, it takes the fun out of going to the chippy, doesn't it? Let's face it. But yeah, if I was going to have chips now, and it's very, very rare, then yeah, I would make my own chips probably. Now, if we're going to have chips for your dinner, who has salt and vinegar? So who has salt, who has vinegar? Who has too much? Anyway, so let me think. What was I talking about? I was talking about, oh yeah, that was it. Vitamin C. Adding vitamin C to your diet, not so much to your diet, but to your toolbox, because I think it's actually quite useful to have in your toolbox. This was only meant to be about 5 minutes of the show, you know that. I was only going to talk about vitamin C and just say add it to your toolbox because I think it might be really useful for you. And you know what? I'm not even down the first paragraph of what I was going to talk about today, because vitamin C is actually really, really powerful to have as an antibiotic. And as soon as you start to feel like you're getting something like a bacterial infection or a virus and things like that, colds, throw it in. Do that in an enema. Someone was talking about enemas earlier. Do that in an enema the night before. Blimey, I tell you, you won't be feeling anything the next day. You will feel fantastic. You just knock it on its head. You don't need to go and take painkillers and all this stuff. Clearing the bowel out and then having high levels of vitamin C can truly, truly benefit you. Really can. So let's see what everyone's saying about chips. You see, I knew. I talk about health and nobody's chatting away. I talk about chips and guess what happens? And Lucy's saying, at least, you know, that they're not GM. It's only a matter of time, isn't it? Yeah. So, and nice bit of cod, indeed. And Rich says still gets them from his local chippy. Nice. And sea salt for Rich. Oh, nice. Huh, nice touch there. Lots of vinegar and salt, sea salt for Lucid. And an old UK column paper. Do they know that? And that's the thing now. They don't wrap them up in newspaper. I remember years ago, my granddad used to come home on a Friday night with fish chips and peas and at the time they wouldn't have the little containers that they have now. You know, the little polystyrene containers. So I used to put it into the fish and chips, the peas, and then wrap the whole lot up. And by the time my granddad had got home, actually, he'd held it under his armpit all the way back, and all that would be down his back, and basically all down his Macintosh would be pea juice. The things you remember about your grandparents. So McCann Bear is saying chips with your vinegar and sea salt. And I'll be honest, that's more or less where I would be at, you know, probably. Moringa. Oh, I'll cover moringa next week. I will do. Okay, I'll do that next week. I'm writing all this down, so if you want me to cover anything else, I can do that. And bitching saying the lack of sleep is slowly driving me insane. Someone suggestions. Well, go to bed probably and have a sleep. And look at the stress levels. Let me see. And McCamber is saying, I assume that's something to read with your food. Great idea. I assume that means it's the UK column newspaper. And Lee saying, knowledge is knowing if a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it into a fruit salad. Very nice. Do quite like plum tomatoes. Very nice. And Lucy's saying, disconnect from the net, my advice, and get outside for the day. Indeed. Get yourself away from this. You know, obviously, I would suggest at 2:00 after my show, but, you know, I'm just a warm-up pact for Shazise, let's face it, who's on at 2 and who will rock your world. And you won't be able to sleep after that anyway. But then go out after that and take in the rest of the sun. If there is any sun. I'll be honest, where I am, there's absolutely no sun. But I could always go and do a sun dance outside, in the hope of getting it back again. And Captain, you've changed your name. Saying, listen to Molly's podcasts. Funny but cruel. Behave yourself. You've just turned up, I see. And Lee's saying, never under any circumstances take a sleeping pill and a laxative on the same night. I love the way you give me such fantastic pieces of advice, guys. Always very, very useful. Very useful. Thank you for that. I knew there was a reason you're all here. Very grateful. And there's no sun in London. No, I'm just outside London. So nothing unusual, Lucid. No, you're absolutely right. So, what else was I going to say? Anything else? Oh, I think I was actually. I was going to carry on talking about vitamin C for a bit. And because I was going to talk about the metabolism around cholesterol with vitamin C, because it actually helps with the bile acids. But most people don't realise that. So it has real big implications for your blood cholesterol levels. And if you've got a cholesterol picture from eating all these chips and having all this salt today, then vitamin C might be something that you want to consider, because, you know, we've got statins being handed out willy-nilly, or you know, and with no thought about the fact that most of us realise that cholesterol is actually diet related and lifestyle related. And, I find a lot of people now are taking statins for cholesterol, but, and they've often been put on them just in case. That's the thing. That absolutely amazes me. Just in case. In fact, I was talking to someone this week whose doctor didn't know if this person actually had a problem or not because the test doesn't come back, but told them to take the pills anyway because he wouldn't do them any harm. That's just astonishing. Absolutely. I couldn't get over what I heard. I'll take them anyway. Don't worry about it. Just take them anyway until the tests come back. Everyone I know who's been put onto statins has muscular pain. Every single person. And, there's a good reason for that, because it's stopping the enzymes from functioning. But the heart is a muscle, and the arms and legs that are feeling tired and having the impact, from the pain, well, they're muscles. And if it's affecting them, it has to be affecting the heart. I cannot see how it would be any other way. So for me, it's unbelievable that people do not make the correlation between the fact that statins are probably affecting their heart and that this person was just being put on them in case. And yet, research shows that vitamin C is actually involved in in basically the metabolism of cholesterol. So it's unbelievable, we're giving people medications they don't need. But then, that's pretty typical, let's face it. And for me, does the NHS actually have enough money to hand out medications for no reason at all when there's, such an economic issue out there? And secondly, if this is happening regularly, what are we paying for medications that aren't actually needed? And who's profiting from that? That's not a bad screw, really, is it? Let's face it, The thing was, for me, this person, when I was screening, there was nothing to say that they had this issue, but the doctor was just saying, take the medication just in case. What a great funneling system, just in case. That's just working on fear. It really is. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. It really should not. If you have a look, if you've got a cholesterol issue, look at your plant food intake, look at your antioxidants, look at your vitamin C levels, look at your, your phytonutrients across the board because they help. They truly do help. Move on to an anti-inflammatory diet. See what the results are, see what the results are after doing this. Let's see what you've all been saying. Let's see. Oh, Captain, what are you like? Bitch is saying avoid statins. Yep, avoid them. Absolutely. And Bitch is saying, actually, once he stopped statins, the muscle pains went. I don't know of anybody. I was talking to somebody, one of my neighbours down the road, and he said that the statins that he'd been put on had been causing him so much pain. The doctor said, oh, yeah, they cause pain for everybody. When I explained why they were causing pain, I said to him he needed basically coenzyme 10. It was like, oh, and yeah, it's stopping at a key enzyme, which you need to function properly. It gives you energy. It stops the whole root of that happening. Oh. Let's see. Oh, Lee, when I was a baby, my physician at the time resolved the pesky meningitis meningococcal with ascorbic acid in a drip, which also cured my scurvy. I came out with too. I dread to think what these maniacal doctors treat it with these days. It's interesting. You would see that happening nowadays. And I had a client who wanted to have intravenous vitamin C just recently, and I can't do that. And I could not find anyone. And in fact, if anybody knows of anyone, of a practitioner who is doing that, that would be really useful for me to know, so that I can refer people to them. But it is amazing to be able to do that. And Rich is saying, we're not placed on this earth in order to consume cornflakes. Don't go telling Kellogg's that, blimey. They'll be suing us next. Those who market this particular cereal may like us to see it that way, but no matter how much we enjoy those crunchy bowlfuls, they contain no actual happiness. No, you're not going to reach euphoria like that, I can assure you. To see where the real source of pleasure lies, we have to step back. Absolutely, Rich. Very nice. And acknowledge our own ability to appreciate existence. Beautiful. Take over my show for me, you can. You can find much joy this week, provided you note the difference between a mirror and an original source of light. Lovely. The light is in you. Ah, how lovely is that? Absolutely beautiful. How do I follow that? I'm going to carry on trying to talk about vitamin C, actually. So, vitamin C. It's a highly effective antioxidant. It really, really is, which is obviously why I'm using it today. And even in small amounts, it actually protects you things like your lipids. And I was talking about that earlier. It protects your fats from oxidizing, and your proteins, which most people don't actually realize. It protects the molecules, certain molecules in them. It protects certain carbohydrate molecules and the nucleic acids. And that's your DNA and RNA. So, and obviously they're the blueprints for your body. So therefore, vitamin C can be very, very powerful within your body. It's really quite important. It protects them from damage of the free radicals that are generated just from ordinary metabolism, not even from the excessive, exposure to like all your toxins and your pollutants, and cigarette smoke. So those of you who are smoking, you've got to up your vitamin C levels because the damage it does is significant. And of course, you need to be reducing the free radical exposure you're having, and because that's going to affect your brain. The free radicals, they will affect your oils, and your cell membrane is oily, and your brain is oil rich, it's fat rich, and it's going to oxidize. Blimey. So if you vitamin C rocks, you're absolutely right, McCambed. It does rock. And the thing is that vitamin C is actually one of the cheapest vitamins to get hold of and to have in your toolbox. And people say to me that good health is expensive. And it is if you've got yourself in an absolute state and you've not, you've taken yourself to pretty poor health. But there are certain things you can do which are less expensive, and one of them is water. 2 is a good quality diet, which is plant rich, and and then have things like vitamin C, making sure you've got this in your diet. It really is. Oh, Eddie's asking, who runs this station? I'll be honest, Eddie. I don't think anybody does. I think we're all just here. Was it that bad? I don't think I was doing that bad a job, actually. Anyway, but if you want to regenerate your antioxidants, then, such as your vitamin E and things like that, it actually helps do this. It really does. It helps your immunity. It improves your immunity significantly. And it stimulates, all of your white blood cells. And this is why I'm taking it today. And that was why I started this show. I was going to do 5 minutes on I've got an infection, and I thought I'd take vitamin C. So I thought I'd tell you about why I'm taking vitamin C, because it's one of the things I always have in my toolbox. It's one of the key things I use with myself and my clients with specific pictures when I'm seeing bacteria and viral infections and things like this. I just tell them to have it there. It's always food state. It's always in 250 milligram tablet form, so with bioflavonoids, so that I can put it in smaller amounts, and then I can boost it right up as necessary and then drop it back down. And Michael, you're asking me, how many milligrams of vitamin C do you recommend? I can't recommend, actually, without really knowing your health picture. And I was talking about learning how to muscle test earlier, so to enable you to actually understand for yourselves how much you need. I would average it out for a normal adult in regards to probably about 1,000 milligrams a day, and depending on if you're stressed, it goes up. If you're ill, it goes up. But have it across the day, because vitamin C is water soluble. So if you did have like 250 milligrams of food state vitamin C, then having that 3 to 4 times a day will give you a basic dose. And then, depending on what's going on in your lifestyle, you just increase it accordingly and then drop it back down. The great thing about vitamin C is that it's water soluble, and therefore, if your body doesn't want it, it will exit it. It will either pee it out Or if you've had enough, believe me, you'll have loose stools and it will exit it in that way. So that's where you actually know you've had too much of it. And I'm not sure why Macambe is saying don't massage him. And I'm not even sure I want to actually go back. Oh, right, Rich. Rich is saying to massage Eddie. How did that happen so fast in my chat box, honestly? And Captain Mayhem saying, free the radicals now. No, we don't want to free the radicals at all. I want the vitamin C to go in like knights in shining armour and mop them up and sort them out. If they are so bad, you're absolutely right. 250 milligrams, absolutely right. It's MG. And Nick saying plenty of free radicals on here. We probably all are free radicals. Someone thin will come up and mop us up at some stage. And when they're a punk band, I have no idea about that. But it'd be a cool name for a band, let's face it. And we are, in fact, we're all misunderstood, let's face it, McCambed. So, indeed. So, you know, vitamin C is well worth having in your toolbox, in your naturally great health cabinet. You know, let's get rid of the medicine cabinet. And let's face it, you know, it's definitely better to have a naturally great health cabinet than an illness cabinet. And, do I reckon that red bush tea is good for antioxidants? It's a good alternative to ordinary tea. I always prefer to have water in the diet. Have water first and foremost in your diet. Your body's predominantly water, therefore it needs water to function properly. Teas are then an addition to this, like herbal teas and things like this. Everything carries a message. So in effect, everything will need to be broken down. I'm not actually sure about the antioxidants in some of the red bush, to be honest. Does anybody else know about the antioxidant levels in red bush? Someone else might be able to answer that for you. And yeah, apparently there was a band called the New Radicals, but not the Free Radicals. But let's create a naturally health cabinet so that when you get ill, you can turn around and have naturally great health, and you've just got some few bits and pieces there to actually my dog's just actually banged her head on the cupboard, because that's the sort of dog I've got, and that's made me laugh, sorry. But, you know, it's far better to have a health cabinet than an illness cabinet, which is what medications will do. You know, medications, I love the way they write on the insert, side effects. Just double speak. They call them side effects, you know. It's double speak for more illness is likely to now start happening in your life, because this isn't about you getting better. It's about tying you into our ill health funneling system, where you start by having tests, then scans, then painkillers, then medications, and then more medications, and then finally surgery, if you're lucky. You know, and then when you're too old to be productive or too ill to be useful and we can't give you any more and you've fallen out of that market bracket where you're already taking enough and we really can't do much more to you, then guess what? We'll disown you and stick you out in the community and hope that someone else will look after you, and we'll have a procedure that slowly allows you to die. So, I don't like the medicine cabinet, as you've probably gathered. I think you need a great naturally health cabinet, far, far safer and better for you, because it doesn't take you down that funneling system. Yes, you know, there will be a company that profits out of you taking vitamin C, but quite frankly, it's not forever, which is where it gets to. You know what? My clients come to me about between 1 and 6 sessions maximum, and then they're better. Deep joy. And it's a rubbish health model, business model, I'll be honest. But at least my clients get better. And this is what you can do with yourselves. We can all heal ourselves. Simple things make great health. It really does. And Lee saying, when tempted to fight fire with fire, remember that the fire department usually uses water. Liking that. I've never thought about that, Lee. That is superb. And if I look at the 5 elements, basically water and your 5 elements always kind of work together, don't they? If you're looking at your Chinese 5 elements. So in effect, you know, that's quite an interesting factor as well. I like that. Definitely like that. And, can someone recommend a good cheapish juicer? Go on to juiceland.co.uk, they have not only a great range of juices, but they also have reviews on there, and they have a complete write-up and comparison charts and all sorts of things between different types of juices. So, and the other thing to do is go onto Amazon, and of course Amazon do all of the they've got loads of people reviewing juices. I recently bought a juicer, and I went onto those two places to look at the reviews before I purchased. So yeah, get a good juicer and get juicing. Juices are fantastic, of course, because you can get massive amount of nutrients. And if you're struggling to get 9 to 12 portions of veg in and fruit and vegetables in, you can easily get 5 in a day from a juice alone, which will make you about anything, depending on the quality of your juicer, from half a pint to a pint of juice. And and someone saying poor dog could probably use some vitamin C. Well, dogs make their own vitamin C, but yeah, just recently I've increased my dog's vitamin C levels just because she had an infection at the back and she had inflammation. And I used 2 key things to reduce the inflammation. I didn't take any antibiotics off the vet. I gave her serapeptase, which was to help reduce the inflammation, and I also increased her vitamin C levels. And made sure she's always got oil. She's always got loads of other stuff. And my dog's a super dog. Basically, she has just as many supplements as I do, as you would expect from a naturopathic dog. But yeah, but yeah. And probably what I'm going to put on her head in a bit is a cold compress to get over the fact that she banged her head. So what else? Let's see. Chinese 5 elements include sweet and sour sauce. Indeed, the thing is that the Chinese actually include specific food tastes. So they will include sweet, sour, bitters and salty and stuff like that. They do it on purpose. It's to balance the palate and to balance the elements, what they consider are these Chinese 5 elements. And therefore that balances health. And sometimes they will emphasize certain ones on purpose to bring those elements back into balance. So the Chinese do really interesting things with their food, when they're using it medicinally, Captain. I'm not even saying your full name anymore. In fact, I don't even know if I can say your full name anymore. And Captain Mayhem saying Jack LaLanne. Well, unless you try eBay. The great thing, I bought my last juicer second hand. In all honesty, loads of people buy juicers and then never use them. And often you can get a better quality juicer, cheaper, and someone, make sure obviously the photo's good and they've got all the parts. But the other thing to do is, if you buy a juicer, buy one which actually you can buy the replacement parts for, because it's often not the motor that goes, it's the parts. So if you get one with a good motor on it. Now, my last juicer blew up in February, and I'd had that for nearly 10 years. In fact, I think I've actually had it longer than 10 years. I think I'd had it about 12 years. And that's how long that juicer. And I had a masticating juicer, which was the screw one, effectively. And that just chews up the food and basically crushes it. And I had 10 to 12 years on one juicer. Like, I replace the parts about twice a year because I juice every day, and I juice about 1 litre of juice every single day. So I've had my use out of it. But for what was about 20 or 30 quid worth of parts a year, that juicer kept going and kept going. And granted, it wasn't a cheap juicer. That's the only thing. You get what you pay for with juicers. And the cheaper it is, more often than not, the wetter the pulp will be and the less juice you'll get out of it. So often it's better saving up for a better juicer or looking for one on eBay, which is a better quality one. And I would always choose the masticating screw juicers over the centrifugal juicers, because of the fact that you can keep the enzymes. They keep the enzymes, whereas because the centrifugal motion actually it almost explodes the cell. It doesn't have the same nutrient levels in it. And it's the enzyme levels more than anything. So you're better off if you can afford more, or you can go on eBay and find a better one at less money. I would do that. About your juicers. Gosh, we've gone off into juicers there. Let's see. And Lee saying the Native Americans call alcohol firewater. Interesting. And the Chinese also say to eat food grown within 7 miles of your home. Captain Mayhem, I agree, actually. We should eat seasonally. We should eat locally. It fits in with your body far, far better as far as I'm concerned. If you can grow your own food, you should be surrounding yourself with the food that you want, to eat, basically, and working seasonally. Do that. Far, far better for you. Let's see. And sound resonance is also great for health reasons. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Resonance is everything, isn't it? Let's face it. If you're resonating at a really nice level and music changes that, we all know that, when we're dancing around, if we're singing, we often feel uplifted, Rich. And absolutely right. Those things make us feel absolutely fantastic. They can do. We all know music that makes us feel scared, and, they use it really, really well and emotionally in films. Like, I went on to watch a film this week, and the two young teenagers who were sat next to me went from laughing to crying and then to being scared all in one film. It was fascinating, all because of the music. And most of the entertainment was actually us listening to these two girls. I will be honest, it was hilarious. But sound is absolutely key. So let's see. And clear all your emotional inner baggage. Yeah, you'll spend your whole life doing that, let's face it. That's what. And Captain Mayhem saying parts for Jack LaLanne are easy to get. And that's the thing. Make sure you can get parts for it, because it's often things like the plastic that breaks. It's the plastic jugs that break. It's the sometimes the filter splits. What else has happened on mine? The front bit, I don't know what they're called, all the different parts, but it's the parts that have broken, basically, for me. Not the actual motor on the juicer. And Rich is going. Everyone say goodbye to Rich. Thank you for turning up. Appreciate it. So where was I? Gosh, this has been a right old show, hasn't it? Taking you all over the place. And, I was only going to talk for 5 minutes on vitamin C today. I was. I was actually going to talk about tiredness and fatigue, so I guess I'm going to cover that next week. And I'll cover spleen next week for the person who wanted spleen to be talked about. I'll probably also talk about Chinese elements next week, since we've started talking about Chinese elements, and moringa. So whoever talked about moringa, I'll talk about that. And if you want me to talk about cover off anything else, I will. I'll cover off that next week. So if you get in the chat box now and start telling me what you fancy me talking about, then I can do that. And Lucy's saying the juicer I'm looking at says it homogenizes. Is that good? That's probably either a blender or it's a screw type juicer. And what that then does is, with a different type of filter plate on it, you can push through things like nuts and make nut butters and things like that. So, yeah, that's probably quite a good one. And Lee's asking, where's the sun gone? I've got no idea, How am I going to know that? And guess who's turned up? Guess who has turned up in my chat box? It is the man who runs round in the snow with sunglasses and pants on. It's Shaziz. He's on at 2. There's 9 minutes you've got to wait. Do you reckon you can wait that long for Shaziz? No one can wait that long for Shaziz. It'll probably be a mental show, as always, with Shaziz. Let's face it. He's always absolutely balmy. It's only a matter of time before, let's face it, Shaziz appears in our living rooms. I say it every week, as he has discovered Tesla and how to basically transport himself. I fear that moment. Hopefully he'll be wearing more than he was in that video. So you're not to go anywhere, any of you. So TNS, we rely on donations. You'll notice there's a donate box. It's to the left of your chat boxes. And if you can donate, please do donate. It keeps TNS going. It really does. And it keeps us all giving you what some people think is good content, what some people probably think is rubbish content. Let's face it, it'll go from one extreme to another. So I want you to, if you can, donate to us. That'd be fantastic. I'll be here next week. And what will I cover next week? Spleen. Anyone else want anything? Moringa. Might even cover Coke next week again. And Chinese 5 elements. Let's find out what music Nick's going to play me out with. Anything. Okay, we're going to play out with Crazy Head. And it's going to start in a minute. There you go. Have a great time, guys. Thanks for coming and joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Get some vitamin C in your natural health cabinet. Bye-bye.